Alright, everybody. It is back to our 2009 retrospective. And given that we're now covering May, we're beginning to get to the bit of yep, here's the blockbuster of the week. uh Obviously we'll be covering it myself. Although predominantly it'll be AJ and Owen with their stuff, but I will try and pop in where I can on because at least with some of these, I have probably have seen a lot of these because being the sort of genres that they were and the scales that they were, it would be interesting to talk about. So yes, may the first be with us. What are we gonna touch on? I'm guessing AJ, we're kind of going the order as it's presented on Wiki. I'd have thought.
Pretty much, there's stuff we'll be skipping, but
Yeah, but the
other.
idea is that if we're doing it, we're gonna get to Wolverine as the last thing to cover from the thing, just because again, I've only just now realised that these are actually listed in alphabetical order, although they aren't because that one isn't. But whatever.
Well, and by the way, this is gonna probably be the most winged video I've ever done because 5 minutes before I answered this call is when I remembered we were doing this.
Then again,
um,
with some of the scale of what we've got here, there's some of it will be relatively easy to come to mind. I would have thought.
oh yeah, there's definitely stories in this month for sure. So the first thing I see, I remember like vague TV spots for Battle for Terra. I think there was a point where it was just called Terra. This is another one that I don't remember. It's an animated thing. It's another one where I actually don't remember if I ever eventually saw it or not, but we definitely didn't in 2009. So I guess we're going to start with Ghost of Girlfriend's Past, which is interesting because I think we were asked about that in a live recently. So we basically had this conversation, and it wasn't much of one.
Uh-uh.
I remember there was a point in time where it was the only movie at the theater we hadn't seen,
Yep.
and I don't remember if we were. It's not that we were actively avoiding it. I think we just really didn't care.
I just feel the fucking concept is so weird in that you take an adaptation of a Christmas Carol, but one, don't set it at Christmas, and two, have it basically being revolving around a wedding day instead. And I'm like, why? The added joke, of course, being I'm pretty sure this was the year that when we get to December, we're talking about the Jim Carrey one, right?
Yes, that's this year.
So we had two, yeah, at least two, because I think somebody else did some sort of like knockoff asylum film style one, probably. So three Christmas Carol adaptations, except we do one for not Christmas, even though it blatantly is because it's like, oh, it's the ghost of girlfriends past, present, and why I'm disturbed is how you can have the ghost of girlfriends yet to come. And probably I mean it in
I
that sense as well. Um,
Yeah,
just
I genuinely I remember Emma Stone is the past ghost, and the only reason I remember that is because we saw the trailer so many times. I don't remember if it wasn't in the trailer. I don't remember. I also remember when we see the future, how weird Breckenmeyer looks in old makeup. That's the only thing I remember that wasn't in the trailer. I think because the main thing I feel like associated with this movie now, at least with people like me, is when Tarantino went on Colbert to praise it and say that it made him cry on a plane. in a flashback scene where Jennifer Garner gives him a camera. So that's pretty much the only thing that comes to mind when I think of this movie now. So, and that we were really in an era where Michael Douglas was really slumming hard.
Because I wouldn't say I know Kermode Mayo podcasts at the time was talking about the reconnaissance, as in basically where he went from doing anything under the sun to sort of arguably it probably was a couple of years later with Lincoln Lawyer and Killer Joe.
Yeah, 2012, which is when Killer Joe came out officially, is when it really took off because it was like Killer Joe and Magic Mike and
Mud, Paperboy.
but yeah, I would say technically it started with the Lincoln Lawyer in 2011.
Yeah, because like to some extent, Tropic Thunder maybe, but you know that was really sort of a supporting role in a whole lot of other stuff. So this
And he was,
arguably was the last
I think,
lead where it was like, why?
I think he was also brought into Tropic Thunder pretty late because he had to replace Owen Wilson. I think is what the story
Yeah,
is.
but when you look at practically everything after that, from Lincoln Lawyer sort of onwards, okay, you know, Wolf of Wall Street is one of the craziest cameos somebody's sort of like ever done, and okay, he wasn't great in Dark Tower, but I don't think anything was going to be with that because that was a mess. But like, practically everything else has been really good that he's done since then. So yeah, Ghost of Girlfriend's Past is where it took the turn. Hopefully. Although I guess it made enough. I want to say it did enough bank because like the budget was like 30-40 million and it did take like 100. So it probably did enough to at least save face for Warner Brothers, but I still find it weird that you take A Christmas Carol and you can get away with it with like 10 Things I Hate About You and like Shakespeare and things like that because you know you can have that set at any time because it's not specifically like, but taking it and going that off field with it, I didn't get it.
Okay, the weirdest thing just happened. You mentioned 10 Things I Hate About You and Shakespeare because 10 Things I Hate About You is The Taming of the Shrew. Since we were on McConaughey, my brain registered you saying 10 Things I Hate About You as How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And I was trying to think, how the fuck are we equating that with Shakespeare? But yes, I see what you're saying there.
Yeah, like taking. Okay, there's obviously 200 years or so difference between Shakespeare and Dickens, but you know, I guess the equivalent would be. I'm trying to think whether Christmas featured in. Maybe Winter's Tale was Christmas in it. Then again, of course, if you tried to set the Winter's Tale in like the middle of summer or something, that wouldn't make sense either. So again, it's like adapting it like it is. I didn't get it. I don't know whether the director did anything else beyond this because I don't recognize Mark Waters' name. Oh my god, he actually Mr. Popper's
He's been around.
Penguins, Bad Santa 2.
Yeah, I actually.
Oh, he's doing that bullshit Hershey film that's the fucking Angel Studios bollocks that's coming out later this year. Like the true story of Hershey. Don't tell me, does it involve religion? Because it's Angel Studios.
I actually didn't even remember if this was set at Christmas or not before you said anything.
No, I don't think it was because the idea it was supposed to be, instead of the plot device being Christmas Eve to Christmas Day, it's insert wedding here eve and insert wedding here day.
Jesus.
That's why it's like, no.
Well, oh, and I think I know the answer, but do you have anything to add to the Ghost of Girlfriend Past?
I just feel like unless I have a story to give, I'm just gonna be quiet because I don't remember anything. The only thing I don't remember either is the fact that what this was supposed to be, and I feel like it would have been a lot more wanted to be seen by me if it would have came down the way it was supposed to. Do you know about what was supposed to come out in 2004?
I'm not sure. It depends on what it is.
2004.
So it originally set in 2004. It was supposed to be Touchstone. It was going to be Affleck, and Kevin Smith was directing.
I think I did know that, actually.
1,000,000%. I would have been much more excited for it than just another way rom-com in the year.
That would have been Jersey Girl. Did they just do it instead, or what?
Basically, it's what it seems like.
That's interesting.
Disney canceled it.
Yeah, because this one was a better version. This one was. I guess this one was probably a bit more profitable because of where McConaughey was at the time. I guess.
I would say so.
It is funny that he and Garner would reunite for his Oscar-winning part. That's another kind of fun thing to associate this with. I think we probably said too much about it now, haven't
Yeah.
we?
You guys
I
definitely
completely forgot that it was a blooming Christmas Carol adaptation. I just remember it being a very ho-hum, but then upon looking into just literally the Wikipedia saying a version of Christmas Carol, I was like, but fucking why? Because I don't remember. If you'd have told me even then, I can't even remember whether it said based on a Christmas Carol. Then again, if you'd have put that up on a film that was coming out in May, people would have gone, this isn't NBA where it's Christmas in July. Or women's NBA.
It is. I had a thought and now it's gone. It'll come back at the wrong time. Should we go to the next thing? This was interesting. Oh, and I don't even know if you remember this movie, but I remember it. The Limits of Control.
I remember it being on the list.
I was trying to convince you this whole movie what Jarmusch's style is because you were not having this movie.
Probably.
And I was like it's the main character, and he is just going from person to person to person, having conversations on his way to kill Bill Murray, is what the whole movie is. And you were bored out of your skull. And I'm over here like, this is exactly what a Jarmusch movie is. Was maybe your only taste of Jarmusch before this Broken Flowers, maybe?
Yeah, for sure.
Broken Flowers is definitely a Jarmusch movie, but it also feels a little more. I don't even know if I want to say accessible, but Broken Flowers feels a bit more like a conventional movie than most Jarmusch movies. Would that be fair to say? Because Limits of Control is such a Jarmusch movie. Where it's just one conversation and then another and then another and then it's over.
Arguably, the most live. Yeah, Broken Flowers would be the most mainstream, possibly along with Ghost Dog, and then probably Dead Don't Die. Because of course, Dead Don't Die was sort of. I think that got enough of a mainstream. As mainstream as you can get with Jarmusch, because of how it was very. it wasn't taking itself seriously, so it was sort of Shaun of the Dead-esque sort of
It's
thing.
not. The Dead Don't Die is definitely not a good example of a Jarmusch movie. But a lot of people were upset when they got a Jarmusch movie without knowing who he is.
But yeah, from what I understand, like the fact that like the characters are lone man, American, blonde, Mexican, is like, yeah, nobody's getting names because you're not supposed to know because this is art house symbolism, absolute
to,
cinema.
to Owen's credit, this is not a stronger Jarmusch movie.
No.
This is just kind of, oh, cool, Jarmusch had another movie. It's one of those. I got a Jarmusch movie and I was fine with it, but I didn't fault Owen for his reaction. His reaction made sense. But I get it. I think it's worth noting, as much of a Jarmusch fan as I am, I'm telling you all this from my 2009 memory because I'm pretty sure I have not seen it since then. Despite my love of Jarmusch and my love of revisiting his movies, that's one I haven't come back to yet. But my memory of it is fond. So that's really all I have to say about it, I think. Did anything come back to you, Owen?
Nope.
I guess the next thing, that Michael Keaton movie wasn't. I think that might be a TV movie, maybe. I don't remember. Okay, so the next one is definitely a story, and a story that most people probably know. We can just tell our point of view of it. The X-Men Origins story. This was a big story when it came out. And, and you and I saw that version.
Yeah. Yes, we certainly did.
Hold on.
We saw that version before. I mean, I would say before anybody was supposed to, but nobody was supposed to see the version we saw.
Hold on.
No, no. What?
But a
Version.
lot of people did.
Version. What? Hold on.
This is the movie that famously got an unfinished copy leaked.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember how long before the release it was. Was it a couple of weeks, maybe?
It had to have been at least a little bit of time. Because I remember like excited because like, oh, we get to see it before anybody else does, and I get to talk about it to guests before and tell them about it if I liked it or not.
I will say, what do I want to say? I think it's very funny that I've obviously seen this movie since a couple of times even, and
There it is.
the effects aren't that much better when they're done. The movie's kind of known for a lot of shitty effects.
Oh,
particularly how the claws turn out in this one looks really weird.
So it's not exactly the same as Cats, because obviously the Cats one got put out on the release date. What you're talking about is basically like some unofficial pre-release version that you guys managed to see, or did whoever was managing it manage to get the wrong file downloaded for the?
So
it was. I'm trying to remember what they call this.
It's a work print.
That's what I'm looking for.
It's the Ridley Scott work print edition. Thanks, Blade Runner.
Okay, so basically, according to Wiki, it basically came out on March 31st. It was DVD quality, but had no time code, no watermark, and of course, the aforementioned unfinished special effects shots, or lack thereof. Different typeface for titles and casting, and alternate sound effects. It was downloaded roughly 4.5 million times by the time Wolverine came out in theaters.
Did we ever learn how that impacted its box office? That's probably there.
I am looking into it.
Because obviously we know this movie's reputation now,
Mhm.
and it's not a particularly positive one. And I'm curious how many people would have seen the word print and were like, "Thank God I didn't pay to see this."
Dear God, this poor schmuck from gossip blogger from Fox News, he got fired for writing a review of the leaked copy.
Well, and I remember following. It was after we watched it too. I remember following closely like the investigation and how fucking serious it was.
Oh yeah, I'm reading that right now.
The fact that, yeah, the leak originated from a preview copy that was prepared for Rupert Murdoch himself, but it was done at such short notice that basically it had such lax security, hence why it leaked online. Yeah, the original upload was traced to a Bronx man called Gilberto Sanchez, who uploaded it to Mega Upload in March of '09, claiming that he bought it from a Korean man. Oh, good. It's that stuff. And he got a year in prison for it.
Okay, for a second there, you said Gilberto Sanchez. I thought you were going to tell me the Disco Inferno was behind this.
If only.
But yeah, what's really funny though is having seen that and the finished version, I don't remember like a lot being different. Maybe the Cyclops effects and the end fight with Reynolds.
Dear God, that was horrible.
I do remember when he cuts Reynolds' head off, and it basically goes into like we're like watching like 1/3 completed CGI.
That's being generous. It was
But
the only time in recorded history I didn't absolutely hate Deadpool.
and ironic given how the fan base felt. I remember thinking because I was not familiar with the character at all, so
No.
I didn't even know like who he was supposed to be. I just knew when we see him, I'm like, is that fucking Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, it definitely was.
I didn't realize the total left turn they had taken with that character and how pissed off everybody was going to be. So that was fun to see that unfold. But yeah, it ended up kind of being this story is the most memorable thing about the movie itself.
It is the only thing I remember about the movie itself.
I mean, everybody talks about the opening where he and Liev Schreiber go through time, which is fine. And Liev Schreiber himself, like throughout the movie, is good and really good casting. But I think Danny Houston's really good casting as Stryker also. But yeah,
I'm still trying to
there's
work out. I mean, I know Rampage Jackson turned the role down, but why they thought the next best replacement for John Rafe was Will I Am.
yeah, because like most of the people in this are essentially cameos, right? And I remember especially the build up for Gambit was a lot.
Oh my God.
And the fact that basically almost everybody's screen time in this that's a minor hero was in the trailer, right?
Basically, yeah.
And it was kind of supposed to be this like shocking rug pull when like most of them are killed in the first 10 or 15 minutes after the first action scene. And it basically just feels like whether it be the law, the studio, and fans, this was just a movie that was always going to exist to piss people off, apparently.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And it is funny that it's technically the beginning of the trilogy that ends with Logan. Do I have that right? The X-Men timeline is so fucked I don't even care about it. But I feel like it was supposed to, at least supposed to be X-Men Origins, the Wolverine Logan, right? That's like a trilogy in itself. Am I getting that right? I don't even know.
I think it's quite funny and quite telling from the production itself that both Josh Holloway and Chris Hemsworth had the shot at playing Gambit, but Taylor Kitsch is the one that got it.
So essentially, it wouldn't have fucking mattered who it was. Yeah, because this was when Chris Hemsworth would have been doing like Cabin in the Woods and Red Dawn, movies that wouldn't come out for like 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Then
Ugh.
again, thinking about it, would if Hemsworth had to have taken this, arguably he wouldn't have been Thor, right? I wouldn't have
Maybe
thought.
not.
This went nowhere. So maybe he still would have been. Because don't forget, say what you want about it, Ryan Reynolds was still the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
So it's possible.
Then
Might have been
again,
harder
arguably,
to
you know, Taylor really didn't survive it because then following it up with Battleship and what I don't think was his fault, which I think was more the Disney marketing thing for John Carter. I don't think Kitsch has really had a substantial project.
I don't like most of his movies, to be quite honest with you.
I enjoy 21 Bridges, but that predominantly is obviously a Chadwick thing rather than Taylor Kitsch.
Never saw him.
If you told me to name actors in 21 Bridges, I would have said Chadwick Boseman and J.K. Simmons, and that's all I would have remembered. I genuinely do not remember him in that.
I don't see that movie, but I know we did. Maybe. No, I would not have seen it because it was when I was down here,
Yeah, it was.
2019.
Oh, it was pre-COVID. Okay, wow.
And the annoying thing is as well, barring again Ender's Game, but that sort of was a mess of a thing anyway. Gavin Hood, the guy that brought us Sotzi and
Yeah.
Rendition, and then afterwards the really good Eye in the Sky and the pretty solid Official Secrets. And all of a sudden in the middle you've got the sort of two black spots in Origins Wolverine and Ender's Game.
Yeah, his filmography is wild.
Yeah.
Are we? So this is the extent of this, right?
Yep.
I remember that. I don't know why. I remember this plain as day. I remember. There's a lot of movies this day, but we're only going to focus on two. Do you remember the double feature of Star Trek and Next Day Air?
I remember Star Trek, and I think if I remember correctly, didn't I hate Next Day Air like greatly?
No, Next Day Air is fun. It's basically like a Pulp Fiction kind of thing with Mike Epps and Donald Faison.
That wasn't one of the one. That wasn't one of the one. Okay, a lot of the movies kind of like run together, so that wasn't like them.
It's the one where Donald Faison's the delivery guy, and it's like a crime movie.
Okay, yeah, I probably like that.
Yeah, it's fine. I own it. It's fine. I actually like really wanted to see it at the time, and I don't remember why, but but yeah, it's fine. I feel like that's kind of an. I mean, it's not great, and I honestly couldn't tell you too much off the top of my head right now. But I remember thinking like, well, this is kind of underrated. I'm kind of digging this. But obviously, the movie of that week.
Yeah, that never came out over here. I wasn't even aware Donald Faison did anything outside of Scrubs. That's how successful it was internationally in terms of Next Day Air.
You didn't.
First of all, there's Clueless, but I want to make sure we don't forget he's the limo driver in Big Fat Liar. That's what I want to be clear.
Oh my God, yes, he's the limo driver in Big Fat Liar.
Yeah, but what I mean is, well, obviously he was the lead in it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I can't think of anything else where he's been the lead. Because he was a bit. He showed up as one of the things in Kick-Ass 2.
Mm-hmm.
and that's about I get apart from, as I say, Scrubs. That's about it.
There was Skyline. I think he's a supporting character in that too. I think he like dies halfway through, maybe.
Oh yeah, that
um,
one that. Oh, what was the thing that's like not Skyline but also similar to Skyline that like came out the same year? It was another case of like
I'm
uh,
thinking the
Paul Blart and Observe and Report. It's like so it's this alien invasion thing that's got a. It even sounds like Skyline, but I can't remember what the shit it was.
that could be anything. I
Yeah,
remember I remember I remember several movies that look like Skyline.
yeah.
So it might have even gotten a straight to DVD sequel or something, or
Speaking of
two even.
other sci-fi stuff,
Yeah. So here's the thing: is I didn't grow up a Star Trek person. I grew up a Star Wars person. So, but I do like the. I've never seen an episode of any variation of any of the shows, but I have seen every movie. And for the most part, I like them. That was the only thing I went into this one with. Um, and I remember this was getting really built up.
Oh, big
Like
time.
I know people were hyped, but like when it actually came out, people were building up how fucking amazingly mind-blowing it was. And I remember thinking that it was fine, but I remember also probably feeling that way because I'm just a mild Star Trek person, so I just kind of had a mild reaction to it. I haven't rewatched it in a long time. I kind of want to. I kind of wanted to before we did this, but like I said, I was 5 minutes prepared when we started. but
I kind of,
um,
I kind of feel that the modern trilogy, I guess if you can call it that, um, given of course that we through the events of this one, we know that basically this is an alternate universe style thing because Leonard Nimoy is basically. I mean, they call him Spock Prime as if to go. Remember, he was in Transformers. So that's the only reason they did that. But I always feel the modern the JJ Star Trek villains have been kind of lackluster. Um,
is it?
Eric Banner in this is sort of like, oh, that's nice.
I remember being underwhelmed by Bana after thinking he was a really cool casting choice.
Cumberbatch had the potential, and then when it was the a blatant reveal of, oh look, it's Khan, and that whole
I
bollocks.
I know people were kind of annoyed about the Wrath of Khan stuff. I haven't rewatched it in a while, but when it came out, I fucking loved Into Darkness. I will say that.
And then I can sometimes I forget that Idris Elba was the villain in Beyond.
Yeah.
Because I think I had no problem with Cumberbatch's character. It's just when the reveal was like, oh, we can't, we can't trust. Because then the irony is, of course, they went with a semi-original villain in Elba's character, and nobody gave a crap.
Yeah.
So it sort of they went the other way, and it's like, oh well, we didn't give a shit about that either. And I honestly feel that's why we haven't had one since. I think they're threatening to do a fourth one. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember that Elba was the villain. I can't remember anything. I can't remember a scene with him. I think the only thing I remember is the Jayla character and that they brought Sabotage back. I think that's the only thing I remember about Beyond. I will tell you that I own a copy of Star Trek Beyond. Do you know how?
Mm-hmm.
I was at a flea market and there were random cases they were selling, DVD cases for just $1. And somebody did not notice. It's a pink case, like it's a Barbie movie or something. And it's actually maybe I don't know if that's what Beyond actually came in or not, but yeah, random DVD of Beyond was in there, and this was like It had not been on DVD for long. It was relatively new still. And I'm pretty positive somebody left it in that box
So
by
it was
accident.
somebody was just, selling off cases or whatever, but neglected to realise that they left the disc in it, basically.
It is a blank pink case.
Yeah.
I I took a black marker. I wrote Star Trek Beyond on the spine, and that's what's on my shelf.
Screw the cover art.
I own every Star Trek movie. Thanks to that. I may not have Beyond yet if it weren't for that. um, but yeah, I just had a mild reaction to it, but I would like to revisit it at some point. But yeah, I think I'm always just going to have a good reaction to Star Trek. I'm never going to be super hyped except for like maybe I had the reaction to Into Darkness because I do think the Wrath of Khan is shocking opinion. The Wrath of Khan is great, I know, but um, I kind of like the fourth one with the whales too. The Christopher Lloyd one, the third one. A lot of them are pretty decent, if not quite good.
And
There's
in
only a
all
couple
honesty,
that
I don't think, even though I've sort of said the villains are bad, I think they're decent movies. I don't think they're bad. I think the chemistry between Pine and Quinto and Urban obviously being the main three of Spock, Kirk, and Bones works. I guess to some extent, maybe the thing that might hold it back from being able to do another one is obviously losing Anton Yelchin way too soon, sort of thing.
Another thing to mention about Beyond is the casting of Simon Pegg, and then the choice to have him be a writer on Beyond was a pretty good move. But notice how much we're not talking about the first movie, which was the objective. But I don't really.
I forget how crazy that cast is, because obviously you've got Greenwood as, the original Enterprise captain. You've got Winona Ryder as Spock's mum. Clifton Collins Jr. Basically the cameo from... Oh, look, he's back, Chris Hemsworth. The cameo from Chris at the very start, where he gets bumped off.
Of course, yeah. Even then, it wouldn't have been a cameo because nobody would have known who the fuck he was.
No. Well, yeah, because this was a year before. Because Thor was 2010, right?
Thor's 2011.
Oh, right, year after. And then, of course, everyone's favourite Medea, Tyler Perry, just randomly showing up as the leader of Starfleet Academy and like, why don't you look like Eddie Murphy? Why aren't you in a fat suit, Tyler?
Did we mention Zoe Saldana, by the way? There's an Oscar winner in this movie. I don't remember I didn't tell if we touched on her or not.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like the problem is like she just pigeonholed herself for a decade because it's like she's either doing that or Avatar or Guardians of the. That's all she just did Marvel and or sci-fi for about a decade and a half, and then she suddenly went, "Oh, I'm going to do Amelia Perez." Then again, no. 2011 was that whatever the shit Columbiana was. So.
See, I know there's like somebody in the chat, like when we first started 2009, was like, "Fuck yeah, Star Trek." So I don't know if we're gonna disappoint them with this conversation, but
I see Bry said I didn't care of it or any of its follow-ups, which I feel possibly for some Trekkies. I still feel weird saying that, but I feel like for some of them, this trilogy, maybe less so Beyond, but it felt like it was trying to some extent what we got sort of with both the other two of the Star Wars trilogies. More so reflected in 7, 8, and 9. in the sense of the first one feels like, the first one. The second one feels like the second one, which doesn't help because Khan's in it. And then, like, the Star Trek Beyond is insert whichever Star Trek you want to put here. Really, in terms of the other one. But then, given that Beyond wasn't massively well received, the closest you could say is maybe a 3 and a 5. Because I know at least within the fan base, it's the whole idea of the even numbers are supposedly the good ones. Ironically, I think with the new ones, I probably enjoy Star Trek '09 and Beyond more than Into Darkness. But that might be in hindsight because at least at the time when they were. That's why I'm just fearing, like. I still haven't heard anything the otherwise because the reviews have only just come out, but. The whole, like, is Disclosure Day like a sequel to whatever? To me, I guess the closest thing would be what? Ridley Scott on Prometheus? When he was adamant, no, this is a sci-fi film. And then once you get sort of 2/3 in, you're like, oh no, this is an Alien prequel. Except you're not supposed, it's like, oh, big surprise. And it's like, it's Ridley Scott. What do you expect? Like, I feel that's what JJ kind of did with the other one, but yeah, Star Trek, as I say, apart from Eric Bana being a forgettable villain, it's got the right idea of the Enterprise crew have the chemistry that you'd expect, a la sort of certainly the original series sort of stuff. Maybe to some extent the movies, but obviously you've got a lot more material in terms of the original 360 series and whatever. But
I remember at the time it came out, because I didn't really, know the other stuff, I didn't get the red shirt joke. I remember a lot of laughing in the theater, but I did not know what that meant. So it's like throwing all that stuff in there also of the stuff that'll go over the heads of people like me that are only mildly interested or just coming into it.
mm-hmm.
I imagine hit for a lot of people as well. Or there might be some people that might think it's too on the nose or tacky or something, but I imagine it mostly hit, knowing fan bases. So the next one is interesting because I only really associate it with one thing. The next one's Angels and Demons.
Oh shit.
Well, Owen, you were the Dan Brown fan.
I was.
So do you want to take this one?
I'll also say that I like Star Trek too. One of the things that I did neglected to mention that Star Trek was a phase of mine for a while. Because I would get phases in my life where I'd really like mark out heavy for something, and then I just nope, no more. When Star Trek Generations came out is when I became really like an emphatic Star Trek fan. I had the encyclopedia, I had the action figures. It didn't last much past that, but it's like I remember watching The Next Generation at least part of the time. So I was like, yeah, and that's why I liked the movie. Like, it is exactly what it should have been, and I was pleased with it. And yeah, the red shirt joke is hilarious. But Dan Brown's weird because it's like I remember. See, I'm not a big reader. I'm sure that's probably kind of clear to most people. But I will state that this is something that changed my mind. And I have read The Da Vinci Code, and I have read Angels and Demons. I was very curious to see where this was going to go. I even loved the video game, and owned the video game.
Oh, the actual Da Vinci Code? Yeah, because that was
Yep.
the only one that ever got adapted.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not even for its time now. It's not actually too bad.
No, the game was fun. It was
Mm.
hard as all get out. The game was fun. Um, I also remember, AJ. Do you remember the gimmicks we had at the theater? The magnets, the ones that were always on my refrigerator, like every single place I've ever been.
That sounds familiar.
They were they were themed for angels and demons. I still have them to this day. They're here in this apartment right now. How they made it to Florida? I have no idea how that happened. I have I have tons of clothes that never made it here to Florida, but the angels and demons magnets certainly did. Um, yeah, I really like this concept a lot, and I can't say much about the movie now, but I will say that I definitely remember enjoying it. I mean, again, it's like obviously you got Tom Hanks, who is Tom Hanks, and you got Ewan McGregor, who is Christian. So, and he always will be. So, needless to say, you had me right there. I didn't care about anything else. Stellan Skarsgård's in it. I enjoyed it.
Would you like me to explain what was driving me crazy about this movie?
Oh, please do.
Even though 2013 was the year, basically the straw that broke the camel's back, and so for 2014 to now, I stopped watching trailers.
Certainly.
Even though this was 4 years prior, this movie was another big factor in that because this movie's trailer has so many spoilers in it,
No, it gave everything away.
and I was noticing that as the movie went because I specifically remember there's a shot where somebody is coming towards Stellan Skarsgård with like a brand
Mm-hmm.
that is extremely spoilery, and there's some. I think Ewan McGregor's death is in the trailer when
I'm
he
pretty
like does he set himself on fire? I think so. I
sure.
think
Mm-hmm.
that's in the fucking
The bit
trailer.
I remember the most is because, admittedly, I'd read Da Vinci Code because I was interested to see how the book compared to the film because, of course, that's when it was cheap enough and prolific enough that it was in God knows how many. Then I think the thing that put me off Angels and Demons is it's like, so why are we doing a prequel? But I'm pretty sure in the movie stuff, it's I think if it isn't a sequel, I completely forget because all the advertising was the follow up to the Da Vinci Code rather than the prequel to the Da Vinci Code.
It's a sequel.
Um, because I think I read Digital Fortress and thought that's a better book. Why haven't they done that? Instead, they do because it's the thing that made me not want to read the books with the bloody spot in you know the the papal guy turns out to be an ace helicopter pilot to save the day and parachutes out like down somehow and then basically gets praised and then it turns out oh no he was the inside job and it's like when that happened as soon as I saw the Inferno publicity and Felicity Jones I was immediately like well I know what's happening there and yeah basically because he realizes he's buggered he just goes one step further than Paul Bettany did in Da Vinci Code, and instead of self-flagellation, because I still remember that with the BBFC, 12A for self-flagellation. It's the only time self-flagellation has ever been in a bloody classification card. Yeah, so Ewan McGregor goes from self-flagellation to self-immolation.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
And the thing what made this particular case so mind-boggling is, if I remember correctly, the scene where they come at Stellan Skarsgård with a brand is a scene in the movie's context that's shrouded in mystery and revealed later.
Mm-hmm.
Like that shot, it's like a reveal shot of a twist or something we didn't know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's a whole fake out where Ewan McGregor looks like the hero, but he's actually the villain, if I remember correctly. So there's like a whole moment where they like rescue him, and it looks like the end of the movie. And I'm thinking like a third of the trailer scenes haven't happened yet. This is not the ending, which means he's a bad guy. And I had to wait for all the fucking trailer moments to come in like the last third of the movie, and there they came, all in succession. And
See,
that was a key moment where it's like I shouldn't watch trailers anymore.
they're not counting on people to pay that much attention. They're
We
counting on people to fan theater.
well, remember also we've mentioned a lot in this series that 2009 was a year where since we were seeing everything, we saw every trailer like 20. So I would have had the Angels and Demons trailer fucking memorized by this
Then
point.
again,
So
also considering the whole what felt like the detective aspect of Da Vinci Code and like trying to solve everything, immediately when you present it's a Robert Langdon story, people are, this is going to be akin of like a, you know, scene by scene, frame by frame, analyzing the GTA 6 trailer for like every single tidbit. It was going to happen because of the nature of a Robert Langdon film as had been established, because of the solid work that Tattoo and Hanks and McKellen did in the first one.
is that memories from Angels and Demons?
Yeah, and the Lost Symbol never. The movie got canceled before it could come out because it would have been the third of the movies, and they ended up transitioning to a TV like series instead.
Well, plus Inferno didn't help.
No, not at all.
Of all the ones that you could adapt, as I say, um, I know it. Digital Fortress wasn't, but felt like it was a Robert Langdon thing. And like Origin was pretty solid. I completely forgot that Secret of Secrets came out last year. There was another one. Of course there was. So at this rate, 2032, he's back.
Should we go on to the smaller movies from this day?
Yeah,
Okay, so there is a movie here, our next one, that I can't really say anything about because I really, really need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it since 2009, and I wasn't into it, but I wouldn't have probably known what I was getting into because this was my first Ryan Johnson movie. I'm pretty sure I hadn't seen Brick yet.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because this Brothers Bloom is his second movie after Brick, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think I was expecting something else. I don't myself. So this all I can really say about this one is I would really, really like to rewatch it at some point and see if I get anything out of it. I
I
know
feel.
I don't it doesn't have like the reputation that his current movies do or that Brick had, but it has a relatively favorable one for the most part, I feel like, maybe. I actually
Yeah.
started to doubt that. I started to doubt that as I was saying it.
At some points, it does feel like it's. I don't want to say inside baseball, but it's like Johnson thinking he can't do no wrong because of how well Brick was received. The problem is he then followed it up with Looper, which was like I think people were expecting something that wasn't like a caper sort of comedy thing like Bloom
I
was. I think they felt like him doing semi down to earth grounded stuff, because even to some extent, The Last Jedi is the one that's trying to be different to the Star Wars thing, which backfired, but then also in hindsight probably is why that might be regarded the best. But then also, like, everything he was trying to do basically got so retconned when Rise of Skywalker happened. Bloom is enjoyable, possibly because you've got Brody and Ruffalo working well, and also Vice and what is it, Rinko Kikuchi, I think it's pronounced,
From back. Yeah.
as basically the dames to the brothers Bloom sort of thing. And yeah, I remember Robbie Coltrane as the curator as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing is, when bloody Ricky Jay was doing the narration, I was just getting flashbacks to Magnolia. Like, oh yes, it's that again. I don't know whether he did that on purpose.
I'm not sure about the next movie because the next movie is a movie called Management with Steve Zahn and Jennifer Aniston,
Yes.
and eventually a random Woody Harrelson. Here's the thing about Management. I haven't seen it since this first time, but I remember that we really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Management is a movie about unrequited love.
Yep.
And you and I were both going through that horribly at the time this came out.
You are also correct.
So we were like really, really feeling this Steve Zahn character. Now that I'm no longer in that position, when I remember scenes from this movie, some of them weird me out. There is a whole sequence that is such a focal point of the movie. It's the poster and it's the DVD cover, which I think, it's up there. It's not within reach, but I'm trying to remember what the context was. Essentially, he loves her, she doesn't love him back, but she gives him permission to put his hand on her ass for a long period of time. Is kind of the initial setup, if I remember correctly. And then basically the rest of the movie is him trying to win her heart, but she's with her crazy boyfriend Woody Harrelson. And there's scenes where he's oh man, what song is he singing outside her apartment? Oh my god, I used to have this scene stuck in my head.
Feel like
But
making
yeah. Yes, that's it. And yeah, and it's like I haven't gone back to rewatch it, but I don't know where I would land now. When I remember it now, it feels like a really weird movie. Whereas at the time it seemed like a really sweet movie. And maybe I'm not remembering everything. And there is a sweetness that I'm just not remembering, but how vividly do you remember it?
Not at all.
Really?
Nope.
I'm assuming you looked the song up just now.
I did.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
live on media during these shows.
but yeah, I remember feeling this movie so almost viscerally that I still remember the movie vividly, even though I haven't seen it since then. But yeah, the scenes I remember now and remember relating to feel different. I don't know. Is this the movie where Woody Harrelson's name is Django?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
As
Yeah,
in,
I don't know.
As in Star Wars Django.
Yes, with no D.
The D is silent.
Uh, that's the one where Samuel Jackson gets to kill Django instead of the other way around, like it happened later. I love that. I love acknowledging that.
People die at the
By the
fair.
way. Um, so yeah, I'm surprised you don't remember it, Owen, because we really responded to it at the time.
So many things have happened between now and then. I don't like. I wish I had a better memory of things, and I don't.
Yeah. I don't know how much that's going to improve for a lot of the movies we have left, which isn't. There's not many. I don't feel like we have much time left of this video
I think
because
my
we.
issue is the fact that this was a great concept and idea, but in practice, I'm starting to realize I don't remember much of anything.
Well, there's one coming where we'll have a conversation. It's one that we've had, but we'll reiterate. But first, we've got Terminator Salvation.
Oh God.
Well,
The
okay.
Rise of McG.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I have found, say what you will about him, I feel like most of McGee's filmography is just a list of my guilty pleasures.
Fair.
Charlie's Angels, This Means War. I mean, he did We Are Marshall. That's like his only serious movie,
Yeah.
I think. He did those babysitter movies. I didn't care for those, but Weaving. Um, but this, I know, I know people. Okay, first of all, I think I've seen this twice. We saw it at the theater, and then I think I watched it with my brother when it was on cable,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. And people really shit on this one. People lump this in with Genesis and Dark Fate. And here's the thing. I haven't seen it was probably still late 2009 when I would have watched it with my brother on cable. So that would have probably been the last time I saw it. So back then, I was perfectly fine with this. When we saw it in the theater, I was fine with it. When I saw it again, I was fine with it. And I feel like this is not even close. I think people are crazy for lumping this in with Genesis and Dark Fate. I feel like there is a massive gap there. So, like, they're getting. There's T2, then after T2, they get progressively worse. But I think Rise of the Machines is fine, and I think this is fine. I think
I
Rise of the Machines is getting a better reputation as the years go on. This one seems to be getting a worse one, and I don't
which is
quite get it.
which is weird because I just feel I prefer this one to Rise of the Machines. They're still relatively weak, and but then again, I'd still say they're more enjoyable than Genesis and Dark Fate were. But
Absolutely.
I appreciate what they were trying to do with Salvation. Uh, and trying to sort of show you more akin to what was happening, you know, in terms of like actual Judgment Day, whatever stuff. More so than we got with. I'm trying to remember whether was it Dark Fate or Genesis the one with what's his name?
Jason Clarke?
Yeah,
That was Genesis.
yeah. That's when it properly jumped the shark.
Yes.
When you try and change the law that much.
Yeah. And yeah, I know. I feel like I'll be honest with you. I couldn't tell you what Salvation does with the lore, but I imagine that's usually what it comes down to when fans are really pissed. I don't remember a lot of details of Salvation. I just remember being fine with it as a movie by itself.
Even though it's completely different subjects, I get it somehow. Sometimes I get some of the bits confused with, was it Reign of Fire in like 04 or 05? Because Bale was like the
Rain,
leader of the resistance in that, wasn't he?
Rain of Fire is like 01 or 02, oh
Oh,
02
is it that
maybe.
early? I thought it was
Oh yeah,
mid 2000s, but I sort of,
I'm thinking of
because again, it's Bale basically leading. Okay, there's a dragon in that one, but the amount of fire and explosions that are in Salvation, sometimes I got confused.
Not to mention, now that you bring up Bale, that this movie is obviously linked to something. It's another thing like X-Men Origins where it's like there is something about this movie that is more famous than the movie itself, obviously.
Oh,
And I guess
is this the set blow up?
I don't know if people had expectations where it was like, oh man, whatever Bale was doing, he was taking really seriously. This movie must be fucking awesome. If maybe that had something to do with expectation. But where Bale was, having that reaction on set and that this is the movie, um, I think has been a point of ridicule. But yeah, I don't. The only other thing I remember is that this is when they were building up Worthington because Avatar was coming out, and I think it was originally supposed to be Brolin, and I don't know if that would have. I don't know how that would have changed things. I don't really remember
Oh,
much about that
McGee apparently
character.
once expressed in casting Brolin in it, but also Bale, interestingly, and Daniel Day Lewis. Imagine Sam Worthington's character being played by Daniel Day. What the
I'm
shit?
going.
What the shit
I'm going
method
to
acting would Day
imagine.
Lewis for that? Would he like? I need to become part android. What the shit?
I'm going to imagine that was a pipe dream, and he wasn't even remotely approached.
Yeah, but I do find it
Or
interesting that
if he
when
was if he was even remotely approached, it certainly never got to it.
if Bale was considered for the Marcus bit, yet from what I can tell, um, oh I see. Apparently Bale, even though he quote can't remember why, wanted to play John, and so that's why Bale got signed up and he became John Connor. I guess that's the power Bale had coming from what? Because Dark Knight's obviously coming up later in the year.
It would have come out the previous summer.
Oh yeah, it was 08, wasn't it, rather than 09? Yeah, because I'm thinking of the build up to Return. So I want to say maybe this was Bale sort of. I don't want to say Nolan esque stuff, but I guess because of what happened because of those Nolan films, I guess he felt he had way more call to do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
Which is semi ironic because outside of that, we didn't get him in a quote unquote blockbuster until what, Exodus? If you don't count, Dark Knight Rises. Because I don't think Public Enemies would be considered a blockbuster. Because I think that was really pitched as sort of a possibly an awards contender, depending how it went. And then certainly, obviously, Fighter and Flowers of War and Out of the Furnace and David O. Russell's American Hustle, which I always call it like that. I felt that's the sort of. I mean, probably the image of what happened with the rant didn't help.
His Oscar the following year, but I didn't even think about that as far as like not doing non-Batman blockbusters for a long time in this period, but that's true.
Yeah,
After
because
after
after that, to some extent, Ford v Ferrari, but again, because of the awards push that did get, you're probably talking, what, For Love and Thunder, which is 8 years after Exodus.
and Anton Yelchin is back as he played Reese in this one, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
An interesting casting choice. And yeah, there is the weird, Schwarzenegger scene where it's like it's him, but it's not him. I know that weirded people out, and I get it. but but yeah, I think this is a massive step above Genesis and Dark Fate, and I fucking hate it every time they're all three lumped together. But oh, and do you have any Terminator Salvation memories?
Well, I will say that the one thing that I always have to cling to is something that I'm not proud of, but it's something that isn't. I'm not gonna lie. The only Terminator movies I've seen has been anything past Terminator 2. It's the same way I did Matrix.
It's wild. You know what's funny is I can even give you the first movie. It's wild to me you've never seen two.
It was supposed to be a movie club at one point, but yeah.
I saw two before I saw one. And I actually think it's not even they're time travel, so it's like it's not even that bad to see them that way. You could see two before one, I think, and still
Sure.
feel something. So you probably don't have. So you're probably wondering like, how is a second of these movies one of the greatest movies of all time? Like these are very low tier.
I mean, I do have the acknowledgement of the Terminator show at Universal, but that's about it.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, it was a fantastic show.
I think that was when I went to Universal. I think that was my favorite thing.
I get that. Not to take anything away from the Bourne Stuntacular, which is a really fantastic show, but it's not Terminator.
The next movie is actually I don't have anything to really say about this, but it's interesting timing that we're talking about this.
Yeah.
The next one is Dance Flick.
Oh God,
I know there's one in joke with this movie that you could say.
that's not the name of it.
And it's what's funny is this is not the first time this happened.
Nope.
Oh, you can't say it, can you?
No, but if you look at the picture, you can tell.
So, a running joke for a couple of movies at the theater was you can see, Dance Flick here. It's anything Flick is related because the other one was the 2006 version of Flicka with Alison Lohman.
Flicka.
And for both of these movies, I don't think they were standees. I think they were both like maybe they were standees actually. They just weren't like the 3D standees. They were just like flat standees.
I love the Flicka stories because it's been talk about. It's never going to get mentioned on here before. The Flicka stuff was great because it's like one of my good friends who was ironically enough the brother of the one who got away. I'll put it that way. Best way to describe it. He used to get on the microphone in an empty lobby, and he would make my manager's life a living hell, and it was the funniest thing in the world. One of them was basically to like telling people to go see Flicka, and he would just say it in like in that tone, like, "Go see Flicka" on the microphone and everything like that. And we drove that lady crazy one night by ladies and gentlemen, buy war bonds.
That's a very Greg thing to do.
That is an extremely Greg thing. The man about you're speaking of is currently enjoying his family life in Australia, and He'll never see this show, but shout out to him for being somebody that kept my sanity for a long time. Ironically enough, given who he was the brother of, but still, yes, he did.
What we're referring to with the titles of Dance Flick or Flicka, and especially since they had like big standees or wall posters, whatever they were, was and by the way, don't expect like the height of hilarity here. It's immature, but we loved it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were in capital letters.
Yes.
So the L and the I were always like right next to each other, basically touching,
In the post.
becoming a U.
Yes.
So this PG horse movie with Alison Lohman became Fucka,
Yes.
and you only referred to it as that, and you only referred to Dance Flick as Dance Fuck the whole time.
Yeah.
I actually don't know that I've ever heard you say Dance Flick's actual title.
I don't think
you've only ever called it Dance Fuck. Same thing with Paul Blart Asshole.
Yes, you are correct. And it's funny, if you look at the cast of the dance movie we're speaking of, it could also be called the other name for Flicka. Just David Alan Greer's character.
Yeah, the main thing I associate with this movie is that this is when Afion Crockett was in everything.
Dude, I was such a mark for him back in the day with Wild and Out and everything.
I was just about to say, does anybody remember him?
Nope.
This is when, obviously, the spoof movie was long dead at this point, to where even the Wayans is going to come back. The director is Damien Dante Wayans. For those who don't know, he's the guy. He's D in Major Pain.
Yep. Yes, it is.
And I remember this. I don't remember many things. I remember Sean is in this, right?
Yep.
But I don't, unless it was a cameo, I don't think Marlon is.
He certainly is.
Oh, was he? I don't remember.
Yeah. The whole gang is in this one.
Oh, wow. But, yeah, this is just, I don't even remember any jokes. I just remember that the spoof movie was long dead at this. This was post the Friedberg and Seltzer era. We are dead. So,
Long
I don't even think this movie registered to me. We were so long past over it. And they didn't even, and like the Wayans just couldn't even resuscitate it. And we're saying it's interesting we're having this conversation now because Scary Movie 6 just broke 100 million.
Yeah. Whether it's deserved or not, that's up to you to decide.
I was gonna say I have seen Scary Movie 6, and we can't have that conversation, but that's gonna probably be the next Thursday live we do, whenever that is.
That'll be the end of June, everyone.
So that's a conversation in itself, but there's going to probably be a couple of jokes in Scary Movie 6 that I'll remember. Whether I like them or not, I'll remember.
Mm-hmm.
I do find it ironic, though.
Well, I also...
Like... Certainly with the new one, which we'll obviously touch on, it was sort of like getting the control of the franchise back, because obviously it really became like a Zucker production, at least from 3. But then it's all the other spin-offs. You know, what was it, superhero movie? I mean, Epic Movie wasn't, technically, was it? Certainly it wasn't from the guy that brought us Chernobyl and The Last of Us. Oh, wait.
God off.
Craig Mazin did superhero movie. Freeberg and Seltzer did the really shitty ones that killed the genre. They have credits on the first Scary Movie. That's how they fucking got their ticket to do the shit that they did.
Yeah.
But and killed the genre.
But even to that extent, you know, because superhero movie was the year before. It really became a point anyway that sort of parody movies wasn't the way to go in
Mhm.
practically anything. So the fact that the Wayans thought it was going to work
Yeah. And
seems weird.
to their credit, this was the time where there were a fucking shitload of dance movies.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's another thing is where I was saying there will be jokes in Scary Movie 6 that I do remember. It's because they're parodying movies that I know by heart. And it's like the dance movies of the 2000s are like all those were the same fucking movie.
There were without giving anything away, there were a couple of jokes in Scary Movie that I was literally the only one laughing, and then there was one joke that went over everybody's head that I got immediately, and I was like, "Hey, don't bring that up."
The Demi Moore thing.
Yep.
I wouldn't say that's over a lot of heads. That's pretty blatant.
Yeah.
And by the way, sorry, we're on Scary Movie. I'm sorry,
Sure.
we're on Scary Movie 6 now. By the way, how stupid is it? They made the joke. You're not going to get an Oscar for a horror movie. Look what happened to Demi Moore. Yet,
Yeah.
the very first joke, one of the very first jokes in the movie is that Teyana Taylor lost the Oscar. But they
Yep.
didn't say to who.
Exactly.
But
You can
then
tell
they
the Teyana
also
Taylor scene was shot only 2 months ago.
But then also they parody Weapons, which is a horror film that won an Oscar.
But before we get on that conversation, because we'll have that later.
Yeah.
End of the month.
Yeah. All this conversation has done with Dance Flick is bring up other movies because I don't remember anything.
Nope.
I'm assuming you don't either.
No.
It felt with the Wayans as well that basically it was sort of just them getting to the end of like doing whatever they're doing, because this is obviously after White Chicks and Little Man, which were just messes in themselves. Really, it was sort of like, yeah, it's nice that apparently the entire extended family of the Wayans are in this, but also no.
Yeah, obviously White Chicks has like not only does it I would say have a new life, but it's had a life for a very long time that I would not have suspected in 2004. But I don't know what Little Man's reputation is now. But I don't hear it brought up a lot, but I know like White Chicks has an entire insane fan base.
Oh yeah.
Which is wild, but yeah, this movie I think is this is the first time I've heard this movie's name in a very long time. This is probably the first time I've heard this movie's name since 2009.
I mean, again, the added problem with it is like I don't classify Hairspray as a dance movie.
Well, I mean it's not like Step Up or Stomp of the Yard or You Got Served.
I see
Whatever
it sort of as
there were.
more of a sort of retro musical sort of thing.
Yeah.
Admittedly, that's because
Well,
and that's even taking out of the whole John Waters, stuff.
well, I mean, Scary Movie 6 went all into John Wick, so I don't. Sometimes I think they don't care what genre they actually are.
Yeah, and
Just Hairspray was relatively recent at the time. It was '07, so that's probably the only way it needed to get in.
we'll get to we'll discuss 6, but when I saw there was a list of like stuff that wasn't horror movies that was apparently going to be covered or parodied in it, I was like, so you again have lost the purpose of why the first two worked. Okay, there was some like generic pop culture stuff in those to some extent, but
Yeah,
most of them tried to stick to were in that genre, and I just felt with a lot of them to some extent dance flick. But again, I don't, I'm trying to remember back to, I don't think it was 09 I saw it. I think it was just on TV a couple of years after because it was the the easy thing to show and barely gets shown on stuff now, at least from what I remember, which probably says a lot. I just remember the amount of stuff where it's like, well, that isn't a dance movie. What's it doing in a film called Dance Flick? That isn't a superhero thing. What's it doing in superhero movie? That isn't anything to do with an epic. Why is it in epic? It's the case of parodies not realizing their genre if that's what they're established to be. You can get away with Airplane because arguably that sort of set the standard sort of deal. Um, I mean, if you want to see a good parody that's semi unintentional but obviously clearly intentional because of copyright, I don't want to keep saying about Nirvana the band the show, but that's how that's how you do a parody. Hell, Hot Fuzz is the best, you know, action movie parody thing I think you will ever get if anybody tries to do an action movie parody thing.
You can't mention Nirvana too many times.
No,
It's always welcome.
but I feel that I have to try and say to the UK distributors, please can you put it in as many cinemas as you can rather than like 7 because Supergirl and Minions apparently matter more.
Okay. Can we get it back in theaters, please? I don't. I know. Just because.
So, I figure we should wrap this up in about half an hour. We've got 5 movies left, and I think these next 2 we can get through pretty quickly. I only have one thing. I don't even know if you saw this one. Oh, and maybe you did. I don't remember. Easy Virtue. I'm pretty sure it's a remake of the Hitchcock movie,
Well,
which is not a
yeah,
thriller.
the old
I only
Noel
assu-
Coward play and everything.
Yeah, I saw this movie once, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But there's one thing I associate with it that's completely random. I love that musical piece, Por una cabeza. You know it if you heard it. If you don't know its title, and I think the most popular video of it on YouTube, which has like hundreds of millions of views, is a dancing clip of Colin Firth from this movie. But Por una cabeza is not the song that's playing in that scene. They just put the song over this scene for some reason, and that is the most popular video for that piece of music you will find. That's all I have to say about this movie. Anything else?
Nope.
It is weird for something that's like Noel Coward and whatever to like, yeah, let's do 1920s jazz versions of Car Wash and Sex Bomb and Billy Ocean's When the Going Gets Tough.
Owen, remember how I just said you didn't remember? Do you remember how I said you felt during the Limits of Control?
Mm-hmm.
Where it was an acclaimed director doing something that director does, and it not landing for you, it feeling very lifeless.
Oh god, it's
Certainly.
this one.
Do you happen to remember the Soderbergh movie with Sasha Grey called The Girlfriend Experience?
I remember we watched it.
I remember, again, I love experimental Soderbergh. I could do experimental Soderbergh all day. I remembered I wasn't either. This is one that felt really just like nothing. Like an experiment, but one that ultimately proved that it didn't need to exist. It's got 2 great writers with Brian Coleman and David Levine. They wrote Rounders and Knockaround Guys, which you know is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
don't know Brian Koppelman now, he plays computer on The Bear. This I don't just I just remember this movie just existing in this very, like I just got nothing out of this. Like I felt how you felt during the Limits of Control, and I think you were with me on this one as well. Like I love when Soderbergh does this stuff, and I always want to be on board with him, and I usually am. But I just remember that I wasn't feeling this. Maybe that'd be different if I watched it now, that we have gotten even more experimental Soderbergh since this. But I'm one of the rare people that fucking loves Schizopolis. That movie just really landed for me in this really weird way. I used to rate movies on IMDb, and I gave Schizopolis an 8 out of 10. And a guy I knew that was following my account messaged me, and it just said, "Why the fuck did you give Schizopolis an 8?" And it's like, so I really, even when other people aren't on board, I will go all in on experimental Soderbergh. But I felt like this movie is just nothing. At least I did at the time. I don't know what I think now, but that's my memory still. So that's all I really have to add to that. So the next three movies are bigger movies. Those were like much smaller releases. These three, and this is a story we've maybe told a couple of times now. I don't know if you want to go through it again, but we might as well, since this is the whole thing. This is where Night at the Museum Battle of the Smithsonian. So me and my brother and I did a Night at the Museum video. We talked about the trilogy, and I told the story, and I'm sure we told the story on a live once or twice a while back. But did you want to go through it?
Actually, you should go through it.
Well, what's interesting, if you don't know, what's interesting about Night at the Museum Battle of the Smithsonian is that obviously Owen worked at the movie theater.
Yes.
This is another one of those, like, it wasn't like an actual NDA situation, but if there was an NDA, it would be expired by now.
For sure.
So I can say this, I think.
You can.
Everybody involved in this situation no longer works at the theater, so we're good.
Everybody involved in this situation probably doesn't live there anymore.
The general manager had a reputation for maybe being the most lenient general manager that has ever existed. Is that accurate?
That is 1,000,000% accurate.
There were a lot of people in a lot of movies that did not have tickets.
Absolutely.
So they would have, this was still when we had film projectors, so they would preview movies to make sure like all of that shit. I'm assuming they still probably do that with digital, but it was like really, you really had to do that with the film projectors because anything could go wrong.
I mean, I've previewed digital movies before, so I mean, I would say so.
Yeah, and so you got called, I think. I can't remember if this was a plan for a while or if it was. I feel like it was very sudden. I think we were going to see this while it was being previewed.
Yes.
And instead, because obviously when it's going to be a big movie like a Night at the Museum movie, there's going to be multiple auditoriums.
Correct.
So multiple prints have to be previewed.
Absolutely.
So you and I get there, and we are given the opportunity to preview each print. You previewing one, and me, who does not work there,
Correct.
being given a walkie-talkie and being told, just watch the movie all the way until the credits are over, and just let us know if anything goes wrong.
Yep.
And that's
correct.
it. And so I went to my theater, you went to your theater, and that's and nothing went wrong, so it was great.
God, it'd been terrible. Would have.
Another thing that makes me really happy about this night is we went up to the projection booth and helped. I remember his name, but I won't say it.
Sure.
Very, very nice guy. We
Yes.
had to help him move the film
Hmm.
and put it on the thing.
Correct.
So I was like holding it in my hands, and obviously you're no stranger to it. That was my one. That's the one and only time I have ever been in that booth. And
That makes
especially since we're in this digital age now, I hold dear to my heart that I got to hold that film in my.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's I love that happened at least once before we went all digital. Just like I love that I got to see a Burnout for the first and only time right before we went all digital January 2013. I finally got to see a Burnout like the end of the summer of 2012. It was the campaign, the Will Ferrell movie.
Yep.
And it's like I got like all my bucket list stuff. The last movie I ever saw on one of our film projectors was Django Unchained.
Yep. It's correct.
It's like I got probably every single wish I could have gotten regarding our film projector days at the theater, and that makes me very happy.
Just
So,
like the last movie I ever built before I moved here was La La Land,
yeah,
which was extremely appropriate.
and Battle of the Smithsonian is a whatever movie to me.
Hmm.
But even though we were breaking all the fucking rules, I love that memory. So,
Oh,
is that? I mean, that's all that really needs to be said, right? Do you have anything to say about the movie itself?
everybody knows.
Amy Adams looked good in those pants. We can say that.
Yeah. Honestly, this is all about Ben Grant and Tom Lennon because I'm a big state mark. So anything they do is fantastic to me.
Obviously, one of my favorite people of all time is I have to shout out Bill Hader as Custer. Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bernthal is on his own.
yeah, before we knew Bernthal.
Yeah.
Was this the year before The Walking Dead started?
Yeah. It should have been.
I want to say it started in 2010, so
I know
we
it was
wouldn't
in
have
the
known.
first one, but this is in and around the time that Rami Malek's name started to get more traction as we built towards the early 2010s.
The first house we did for Walking Dead was in 2012. So it'd have to be around that time.
I'm not even a Walking Dead fan, but I want to say it started in 2010. Maybe I'm right or wrong. I do not know, but I know I'm pretty positive we did not know Bernthal when the
No.
game came.
Is this the first one with Gervais as well, or was he in the first one?
He's in the first one.
Oh, okay. All I remember from the first one is Dick Van Dyke and Mickey Rooney being sons of bitches.
I remember the first one because I was watching something on Tubi, and then it was the next thing that autoplayed, and I watched like the first 45 minutes. So my memory, that's how I was like really passionate. Really, no, yeah, Gervais is definitely in the first one. I know for a fact. Okay, I have an interesting relationship with the next movie. It's Drag Me to Hell.
Oh God.
So Owen, you and I had the same opinion of Drag Me to Hell at this time.
At this time, I thought it was probably one of the worst horror movies I've seen in recent memory.
Yeah, it was. I hadn't fully. What I know exactly what the problem was for me. I hadn't fully embraced Raimi as far as his style.
Sure.
So what's funny about it is when we saw this, you and I both said that we thought the movie just really went off the rails for us, and we kind of gave up on it. Was the Seance?
Sure.
Now, hold that thought and let me go forward. So, I didn't see this movie again for a while. It
Mm.
was probably 2016 or 2017 was probably when I ended up seeing it again. And like everything, I got it thrifting, and I was like, I'll give this another go. Why not? Um, and by then, I had like rewatched the Evil Dead movies, and I had seen other stuff, and it was like, I'd gone back to Darkman, and it was really starting to click now. Like, oh, this is what Raimi does. Okay, I get it now. Because if you're not used to Raimi or you're not into Raimi, his movies can be very tonally off-putting.
Certainly.
Because he's really walking that line of comedy and horror and the ridiculous and the genuinely scary. And you never really know what the next thing is going to be that you're going to see. If you're into Raimi, that's what you're there for. It's not much his style in many ways, but when he really shows his face in Send Help was so exciting.
For
and, and so I'm watching Drag Me to Hell again, and it's a freaky ass movie, and it's a crazy ass movie, and it is Raimi to his core. This is the most Raimi movie Raimi made since Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, what we said before about the seance scene, it was re-watching the seance scene that the movie clicked. I was watching the seance scene again, and I literally thought, oh my god, I get this movie now. And it was glorious. I've seen it several times since now. Uh, so I understand where you're at where you're at, because I was there. But I went digging for this movie. I went hoping to find this movie in my heart, and I found it. And I'm really happy about it. And like I said, if if you want to get into Raimi and you're not, I feel like this is a make it or break it kind of movie. If you love this movie, you're gonna love Raimi. If you don't, he's probably not for you. As far as stuff like, obviously he's got his Spider-Man movies and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but like stuff like this or
I
stuff like,
yeah, it's sort of like, to some extent there's two different Raimis. The one where he's directing and the one where he's directing his own material.
yeah,
And the crazy thing is, to this day, Drag Me to Hell is the last thing that he wrote that at least got put in cinemas. So, what, 18 years? Or, 17, 18 years? Like, oh, because Send Help, I think he was producer on. And everything else, apart from when I think he got the script credit for Spider-Man 3, everything else from The Quick and the Dead through to Doctor Strange, he's only directed. He's just directed other people's scripts. And I
and this did
appreciate
well.
that. I appreciate Drag Me to Hell going the way it does, at least in terms of its ending. Again, that it sort of is. It's committal. I'm always the
Yeah,
one. Um, in the sense of, I feel other people would have tried to go wander, because I don't want to give spoilers, because I think it's a very well put together ending. Um, a lot of films would try and do it one way, but Sam sticks to his guns and does it the Sam Raimi. That's the best way I could say is the Sam Raimi way.
and it did. I mean, it did relatively well. It was critically acclaimed, and it was about 91 million on a 30 million budget. That's, for a movie like this, that's quite good.
And bear in mind as well that that's it's a week turnaround because it debuted. There was a work in progress at South by Southwest back in March, but it first showed up at Cannes on May the 20th, like as a midnight screening out of competition. It then released in America 9 days later. That's clearly how much confidence he had in it, in that he felt he could have it, admittedly, as I say, out of competition, but shown at Cannes, but then to show up only a week or two later on however many cinema screens it was shown on. I'm not sure in terms of. Does it say? No, it doesn't list in terms of. Oh no, there we go. 2,900 screens, which is middle-ish. Because I want to say like the peaks usually sort of in around 4,000-ish.
These days, yeah.
So not a bad showing. Okay, it was number 4 in the box office that week, but I feel it's one of those that it gets a lot of airtime on TV just because it's an easy thing to put on, because it's what, like 100 minutes ish, give or take.
Yeah, about that.
So with commercials, it probably fits a 2-hour slot relatively good.
I don't know if you were saying that off the top of your head, but it's 99 minutes.
I just remember it not being 2 hours, and that what probably also helps the film. It's not especially at that point when horror films didn't really outstay their welcome.
Also, I just have to shout out Justin Long and horror is always a winning combination. He like doesn't miss with his horror choices.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think. Jeepers
Oh.
Creepers.
Barbarian Weapons, Tusk.
Tusk was the one that came to mind.
He has. I consider him a Scream king. His terrified scream. His terrified scream's literally a plot point in Jeepers Creepers, and then in Tusk, he has a fucking terrifying scream. He was born for horror. We've got the main heist is here. I saw that on cable like the next year, and it's fine, I think, if I remember correctly. But other than that, we have one movie to talk about now. It's Up.
Squirrel.
Owen, do you want to start?
I love this movie. I'm sure it's no surprise. A lot of people have been saying for a long time that I am Carl Fredricksen in every way, shape, and form. If you know me, there are times that definitely comes off. I guess the best way to describe it, sometimes people get the Carl Fredricksen in me, and sometimes they get the Nick Gage in me. It just really depends on the circumstance. I saw this movie on the Disney Fantasy my first day that I was on the ship. And it was the first time I'd seen it since. Because I watched it several times. It was in the theaters. I love this movie in every way, shape, and form. And it's one of those classic movies now that you go back and it's like you can identify with things. And I have throughout the years. Faces have changed, but the story remains the same. But I will state that opening, especially when you did not know it was coming, I don't think there is nearly anything that has ever been or will ever be on film that compares to the opening segment of Up.
That's crazy in the sense of, obviously Pixar are known for their short films as well as their features. Obviously Up also had a short in itself, but in terms of the actual 100 minutes, whatever it was, in the space of it, you got a short film and then basically somewhat the sequel to it. Because that 9 minutes of how it just goes through the life of Carl and Ellie, and just like is so like, yeah, I fucking cried. I'll be honest. It's
Can
just crazy good.
can I be a bit of a contrarian?
Oh, go ahead.
Go have this one.
Um, and I really mean this. I'm not doing it for contrary's sake. Um, the opening is very good, but there is something that hits me harder. Um, Towards the end, when he realizes she was filling the book up the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's the part. That's the part that kills me.
I think it's the combination of both mixed together.
Like I think that the first 10 minutes is really good. Like it's basically memed at this point that the first 10 minutes of
I
Up is
just
like
I feel that first 10 minutes is the most impactful because it's like, oh, happiness, 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 miscarriage. Like, we're bringing up miscarriage in a Pixar film for kids. Like, the fact that it goes that sort of, it's not even left field. It's gone the field. The field. It's so far left field. It's come back through the right. Like,
yeah. I feel like I should clarify. I would never laugh at a miscarriage.
no,
I was laughing at Ashley's illustration of the hard left turn.
yeah, it's just I feel that's what sort of that and the sort of like showing the death and whatever made me just, don't get me wrong, that bit sort of where it's like the whole bit was there and sort of was following it all along sort of thing.
And it would
You
be it
sort
would
of
be one
you sort of felt that would be a nice sort of you know tying up the ribbon sort of thing, which it is sort of that just you know perfect touch. But it's just the sort of the abruptness of not expecting something that serious in in something like that. Certainly, I vaguely remember when I think it was this one, or it might have been no. I think it was actually, was it afterwards, the Inside Out one? I'm trying to remember. Um, it said a lot that when they showed Inside Out as one of the Odeon slash, I guess as you'd know it, AMC screen unseens, people were complaining and then like, I'm already seeing it with my children sort of thing. I feel like Up probably helped obviously by the Oscar stuff, which we'll obviously discuss when we get to the end of the year and wrap that up in terms of like the Oscar season for 2009 sort of deal. I feel this got way more attention on it than I enjoyed Wally more because it's a very adult film, but also being sort of friendly to kids. But this was, there was sort of Wally had the sort of the whole idea of environmentalism, but not explicitly doing it. Whereas the whole, hell, it's the mole agent before we had the mole agent. Like, why are all these old people grumpy? It's because nobody's there. Nobody's there caring about them, apart from this young kid that's a blooming scout. Oh, sorry, wilderness explorer, because the scouts would probably complain.
I was gonna say about the opening. I'll see one thing if we saw like their married life go into their old age. But the fact that it starts at their childhood, so we're literally seeing their entire lives in that span, is something that felt very like one of a kind when we saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of style of opening would go on to other movies and still be effective, like the opening scene of Searching really takes the same approach, and it's just as devastating without even covering as much ground. And but yeah, it's the scrapbook for me ultimately that always
Yeah.
got me. But I get the reputation of the opening.
And as you know, I feel this was the start of the semi-oblique villain, because
Yeah,
arguably Plummer's, Charles Muntz is not really the villain. It's just probably he's gone that sort of stir crazy by being, as deserted as
I don't.
dare I say Colonel Kurt style.
I was gonna say you're more generous than me. I have no problem calling him a villain.
well, no, it's like because at first obviously the way he's presented and everything, it's sort of. I feel more I feel it more fitting for him and his villain turn than what we got 5 years later with whoever the bloke was with the moustache in Frozen. It's like, yeah, let's make him the villain. To be fair, with the amount of people that are sort of in the film, logically Plummer was probably going to be the villain because there's barely anybody else in it.
Yeah,
There's
because this
bloody
was
Doug the
we were
dog.
gonna we were coming into our era where Disney was obsessed with the twist villain. Like Frozen had it, King Candy was a twist villain, and there's like all the others that I'm not remembering, but were definitely
What's
there.
his, well, to some extent, Lotso in Toy Story 3.
Yeah, that's one as well. Yeah.
And I get even I mean, what's his name, Stinky Pete in 2.
Yeah.
Um,
I have interestingly enough, I have seen criticism for Up in the past, not recently, but in the past, that when you see people talk about the opening 10 minutes, that the opening 10 minutes is so good that it almost kind of undermines you don't hear the rest of the movie talked about as much, and it makes it and the fact that it's this very sort of mature look at an entire life and getting old and grief and losing people, and then you've got like the talking dogs and the one with the helium voice, all the stuff Russell's doing, and it's like I know some people found it like, even though that's really what these movies have always been, the balance of being mature and being kid friendly and finding a middle ground as it goes. But I guess some people found this one pretty jarring at times, but I can like I think this one is handles that just fine, but at the same time it's like when I heard that criticism, it made sense to me. If that makes sense. To agree while not agreeing.
yeah, but I still think in essence, to give the backstory that the main portion of it needs, you have to have that bit at the start. It makes sense
Dog,
to tell it
dog
that way as well, rather than Tarantino-esque like jump cut too much within the main body of the stuff.
dogs flying planes. Dogs fly planes in this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like we've got the opening 10 minutes, also dogs fly planes in this. And it's like I get it, but
And of course the old the Delroy Lindo cameo as well.
he's one of the dogs, isn't he?
Yeah, one of Plummer's dogs. Yeah.
So yeah, like you were saying, when we talk about the Oscar stuff at the end, We'll come back to this, but in the meantime, that finishes us up here, right?
I want to give a shout out to Into the Storm. I can't remember when it came out over here, but Brendan Gleeson did a very good job as Churchill. I can't remember whether it was. I know for you guys it was one that was stuck on HBO, so it was an Emmy thing. Oh, apparently it was here as well because it was nominated in the Television Awards. So in a rare occurrence, it was an actual. Um, it was televised for us as well, but yeah, it was a deep. Considering how good Gathering Storm was, it's pretty big shoes to fill for Gleason to follow up from Finney. But I feel he did a very good job. Arguably, to some extent, we got a different adaptation of this in terms of really Darkest Hour, because it sort of covers uh, the war. Well, yeah, the war period from roughly after the war starts, and Neville Chamberlain's, you know, screwed because of the piece of paper and everything, and it sort of, admittedly, it sort of, no, it does, I guess, go to 45 and whatever. So, but I feel at the time it was a good adaptation, and Gleason did a very good job. It's kind of a shame, I want to say, that Darkest Hour basically did it, and then obviously the Operation Dynamo, most people will now also associate with Dunkirk, as I always call it. Um, but yeah, one of the few TV movies that, in hindsight, I kind of hope might get like retrospectively put on in cinemas, because again, it sort of is that 100-minute mark where it'd probably suffice. But I think with certainly the acclaim and whatever that Darkest Hour got, it might not. But I feel that it was a good script, and yeah, this is where it was good to see Brendan doing more, because obviously this was the year after In Bruges, and this was, I get, no, it was in the middle of him being in Harry Potter, because he showed up as Moody in Goblet of Fire, which was 05-ish. So, but yeah,
4, I think. 4. Is it 4 or is it 5? I think it's 4.
well,
Oh, 4.
no, I want to say Goblet of Fire was 05, because yeah, November 2005 was Goblet of Fire. It's part of me, yeah, because Azkaban was 04, because whether they had to whether they just delayed it because the time it took for, I guess they couldn't follow it up directly after, like Columbus did with Sorcerer, Philosopher, and Chamber of Secrets. And whether it got delayed then. I mean, the fact that filming began in February and November 03 for Azkaban, yeah, it was 05. Because I guess that's where it fell into the cracks, at least. Yeah, because what? Cuarón did 3, Newell did 4, and then was it Yates that did 5 and 6?
Yeah, I think Yates is Order of the Phoenix and on.
Did he? Yeah, I can't remember whether he did the Deathly Hallows ones.
Yeah. Once he started, unfortunately,
He stuck
we got
around.
stuck with him.
Yeah. that's why those
Alright,
ones then
so
followed like year after year, because we weren't having to wrangle other directors.
so next week we get to talk about June in June. That worked out nicely.
Yeah, we can discuss some Oscar-winning directors and Oscar-nominated directors, and have the most oblique reference we can make, probably in this series, to Nirvana, the band, the show.
No, we can talk about most of these too. I'm just scrolling down this list, and I'm just so glad it's not 2009 anymore. I'm having too many flashbacks. Let's go ahead and end this.
Yes. With the stuff in chat from Brian Josie. Bryce saying the only thing I know Brecklin Meyer the most of is John in the live-action Garfield films.
Yeah, I figured you'd go to there, Brian. Not surprised.
Not Clueless or Road Trip or Robot Chicken. The opening of Josie and the Pussycat, where he might as well be his character in Clueless again.
As far as book awards go in 09, Josie mentions the Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman won the Newbery Medal. The Booker Prize went to Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. And Josie asked me, have I read that or anything by Hilary? I want to say I think I've read Wolf Hall, and I've read, I think it was Bring Up the Bodies, the sequel. I don't think I read the other one. But that's another one where at least the adaptation went well. Thanks, Mark Rylance. Who knew? National Book Award for Fiction went to Let the Great World Spin by Colin McCann. And the National Book Award for Non-Fiction went to the first Tycoon went to The Epic Life of Cornelius Vanderbilt. With a name like that, of course it did. And the Penn Faulkner Award went to Neverland by Irish author Joseph O'Neill. And then back on the film front, Bry says, I didn't care if Star Trek... Oh yeah, I've already mentioned the Star Trek follow-up. The only thing I know how big Star Trek 09 was when I was 9, I was getting Happy Meal toys at Burger King. Oh, and then also notes, oh yeah, I forgot I had McDonald's Happy Meal toys for Monsters vs. Aliens. Which, are we getting to that, or have we already...
We've already...
And then Bry goes, come on, get to the chopper! Sean Levy might be a better producer, because he did produce Arrival and just produced Backrooms this year.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sad Pete Docter's not directed a movie since Sal, because he's now in charge of Pixar. Well, considering the reputation that the other guy had when he was leading Pixar, maybe that's for the best. Just saying. And then Bryce says, June, you're going to get our Best Picture winner and a lot of bad films in what many people consider the worst film of the year. And then, Bry's video on how he got the audition for Begonia went up a few days back, so check out Bry's channel, everybody. That should be an interesting tale. But yeah, there's some... The problem is I'm looking at some of these and I'm trying to work out which is the worst. I can see a lot that I'm like, this is the best as well. But either way, we'll get to that next time round. Which, that should be next Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
We'll let you know the time.
Another 6 p.m. start.
It's another 6, no problem. Righty ho. So thank you to Brian, Josie in chat, and those of you that did watch, lurking and not chatting, or are watching us on the archive. All the views count. Helps the audience, because apparently that's a better word to say than the one that rhymes with Balgorithm. That's a bad rhyme, but there we go. Take us out, Owen.
All right, so we'll continue this next Tuesday night, 6 p.m. to talk about June. I got plenty of content on the channel right now. I won't have another video other than these popcasts until July, because I'm at the point that I don't have enough to get me through the rest of the month. So I'm going to save what I do have left over for July. That's going to be your show for tonight. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Follow Ashley today. And more AJ content is coming in the very near future, so stay tuned for that. And that's going to be your show. So, as always, and real quick before we get started, it is Bill and Ted Day. So, always remember to be excellent to each other. And if you have the means to do so, do watch Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, in one way, shape, or form. And if not, then complain to your local theaters and tell them to get it back and release a little bit. I Knew It, I Knew You is out. Hopefully, this is going to be the chance that Taylor has at a real Oscar this year. So we'll see if that works out for next season. We've got Jinx coming out on the 24th for Water Parks. And that's going to be your show. So always remember to have the best day ever. 'Tis the season after all. In the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. Until tomorrow, boys and girls. That's all we got to say about that.